Is it easy to fill out the application for citizenship? Filling out the application is easy. Now, whether you do it right, that's hard. So people fill it all the time and make mistakes all the time. I don't know what to tell you, but it's a personal decision if you want to do yourself. But my job as immigration attorney, the least important part of it is filling out the forms, which is what people mistakenly think what an immigration lawyer does. The forms is the least amount of work and the least important. Really analyzing the law and see how you fit within that form to catch issues that could pop up and to prepare you for what's going to be happening is the key job that we do. And that's why I have to dig in deep into your family life, into your personal life, and how you got a green card, all this other stuff, to see what could potentially come up that was unexpected, because I've seen people go to the interview and all of a sudden new information comes out from their past and they're denied, and it's something they should have known, and sometimes they get sent to removal proceedings, deportation. Now these are rare. I don't want to scare you. I don't want to give false sense of fear. Most cases will be approved, but I just, when people have problems, they call me. And so I see a disproportionate number of catastrophic results if people go it alone. That's why I'm too scared to say, yeah, go do it yourself. But it's not to say that you can't do it yourself, and most people don't file citizenship on their own without approvals. I'm trying to become a U.S. citizen. Do you recommend me filing out the application or getting a lawyer? Whether to get an attorney or not to get an attorney for a case is a very personal decision. Obviously, I'm going to say yes, get an attorney. I've seen way too many people ruin their lives and get deported even because they didn't pay attention to what they're doing. Now, 99% of people would not have that situation, maybe 99.9%, but there's hundreds of thousands of people, millions applying for citizenship. When you say 99%, it seems like a lot, but when you think about a million people, 99% of that, or 1% have problems, is a big number still. So at the very least, I always say have a consultation with a lawyer, and not every lawyer is going to do an in-depth consultation, but when people come to me for citizenship, they want to apply for citizenship, that's when you had your green card for enough time. I just go through their entire case history to see if I can identify a problem that could be problematic that could get you denied or deported. And at the very least, do that. And be fully honest with your lawyer. Try to get all your documents ready so you can review it. So whether you need to have an attorney or not, at the very least, talk with really 3 to 4 lawyers. Go through your whole case history. See if they can identify or spot stuff. Not every lawyer is going to be as detailed, and not every lawyer knows all the rules to be able to spot it. But to do their best to do it. And then if you then have a major issue, for sure hire a lawyer. Or if you feel insecure about it, or if you don't feel like doing it, then hire a lawyer. If not, then do it yourself. One thing I found for people filing for citizenship is a lot of the people hire me for doing their citizenship case. They're not even complicated cases. They can do it themselves, but they've been waiting and putting it off year after year after year because they don't feel like doing it. So a lot of times they hire me and say, listen, unless I give the case to you to do, it's just not going to get done. And so I have to give it to you. And so that's a lot of my citizenship cases. But the main answer to your question is consult with a lawyer, get a better opinion about your case, and then make a personal decision whether to hire an attorney or to not hire an attorney. How long is it taking to become a U.S. citizen if you submit the application right now? Every field office is different. So when you do citizenship, apply for it, you have to eventually do an interview at a local field office. And each field office has different, amount of cases coming there. They're busier. Now, keep in mind, there's less staff going to USCIS because some might be sick, some of them might want to go because of COVID. There's all sorts of problems. There's backups because they shut down interviews. So when you ask how long it takes to become a U.S. citizen, I mean, it's impossible to answer that. Just go to uscis.gov, check Form N400, see their processing times, and you'll get an unreliable number there. But I'd rather uscis.gov give you the unreliable number than you say John gave you the unreliable number. So that's the best way to do it. Can I apply for citizenship in October since my 5 years will complete in February? No, October is more than 3 months. So if you go to Google, type in N400 90-day calculator, and you'll go to the USCIS website, and it has a calculator there that calculates when you could file depending on the 5-year base of when your green card, 5 years after your green card is issued. And it gives a date with the first date you can file. But keep in mind, this is just the one criteria, the time limit you have to have your green card for. There's other eligibility criteria for citizenship, so I have to look at that too. Hi, can I submit my N400 now? It's 3 months early, or should I wait to complete the 5 years? So if you're asking me as a lawyer to give you advice of whether you can apply, because I have no idea what's going on with your personal background, whether you've been paying your taxes, whether you have any arrest history, whether you signed up for selective service, conscription when the time came, or if your age was appropriate, how you obtained your green card, there's a million and one things I don't know about you, so I can't, and you ask me, can I submit now? I can't answer that. Just factually speaking, it is possible to submit the application 3 months before the 5 years, But you have to have completed the physical presence requirement. I don't know if you have or not. I haven't counted your days. I haven't looked at your travel history. You shouldn't have any continuous presence issues because that's your problem. And so on and so on and so on. So that the very small question of whether it's possible to file 3 months before the 5-year period, it is possible. Whether it's possible for you, I don't know. And that's something that, as consultation is needed for me to review it and give you that answer. It's a lot of responsibility to tell someone they can do or not do something because there's consequences. But when you ask me, can I submit? I can't give you that legal answer. But the 3 months left of 5 years potentially is a possibility. So what is physical presence required for citizenship? So when you want to apply for citizenship, and this is one of the reasons I can't just recommend someone to apply or not, there's several different requirements to be able to file for citizenship. And one of the requirements is physical presence. So they look and say, in the last 5 years, for a person doing a 5-year based citizenship, have you physically been in the United States for half of that time? So, 5 years means 60 months. Half of that is 30 months. So 30 months times 30 it comes out to like 914 or something like that days. I can't remember the exact number. 917, but you physically have to be in the United States and not be outside. So that's the physical presence requirement, one of the requirements for applying for citizenship, also known as naturalization. After applying for naturalization, can I go outside the country? These days will be calculated for my 920 days outside the United States. No, after you apply, you can just do your regular travel. They don't get deducted for your dates. It's really, the deduction is based on at the time of filing, how many days you had within the United States in 5 years previous. But those same rules of, not being outside for 6 months and stuff could apply. You really don't, it depends on what kind of travel you're doing. There's a lot that goes into it. I don't want to give too case specific. You generally can travel after filing for citizenship, but if you barely have your 12 days already, or 917, however much it's supposed to be, it might be other issues already involved in your case. So they might already be skeptical that you're already residing here when you ask me a question like that. So I'd be cautious. If you need to travel, but avoid traveling. So it's going to take a while to get a citizenship, but just keep your trips short, and don't make sure they're not violating any specific sanction or issue like that.
Our if says, if LPR stayed 182 days outside of states, is he break continuous residence? Yes. If you spend 182 days, that's a break of the continuous residence. And when you file for citizenship, there's an assumption that it's broken. You have to be able to overcome it to say, I didn't break it. I was actually residing here. Then it depends on the evidence that you submit for citizenship. So continuous residence, let me back it up a little bit. We have to finish that. Depends on the evidence you submit, how the officer wants to deal with it, how many times you've broken residency, all like, so you have to deal with that. When you file for U.S. citizenship, you have to be in the United States a fixed amount of time. There's also other regulations you have to complete. But one of the requirements is the continuous residence period, which means you're not supposed to live outside or be outside the United States for too long, or else that resets the time you have to go through to get a green card. So typically, to citizenship. So typically, if you have a green card for 5 years, you can start the process for citizenship. However, in that 5 years, you have to have spent more than half of the time in the United States, and at the same time, not been outside the United States for more than 6 months, or not have multiple trips of 4 or 5 months outside the United States. You really have to show that your life was in the United States, and any time you spent outside was these temporary kind of vacation kind of things, but you're really living in the United States, and you're not breaking your continuous residence. So if you were 182 days outside the United States, they look at that and say you were outside for more than 6 months, you broke continuous residence. Then it's on you to explain how you did not break continuous residence, how you are really living in America, how do you have a house here, and how you do that is showing documents. You have a lease agreement, you have a car, you have a job, you have family members, you have utility bills, you go to the library and check out books, you pay taxes, and there's a lot more things just to show, no, my life is here. It was a temporary situation. I went out. Maybe you're out for 4 months just to see some family members, have a good time, and then coronavirus hit, and then you didn't want to get on a plane. There might be explanation, and then at the end of the day, it's up to the officer at the USCIS interview and their judgment if they think that you broke your continuous residence. So there's only so much the limits of what an attorney can do or documents can do. It goes in the hands of an officer at the Immigration Service. And if they don't want to prove it, you could then appeal it. It's called N336 for a trial that happened within USCIS for them to review and analyze it. There's more fees and more time. And in the worst case scenario, you may be able to file a lawsuit, but at that time, so much time has passed, you may be able to just reset the clock and do a whole new application for citizenship it really depends on the facts of the situation.
My mother had to stay for 8 months outside USA due to COVID. Can't she apply for citizenship December? She could try, and then she just, if the officer wants to hassle her about the long absence, she has to be able to explain that she did not abandon her status. She didn't mean to leave more than 6 months, that she really had her life in the United States. If the officer accepts that, then it's okay. So it's up to the officer who's adjudicating the case. She could apply if she satisfies the other requirements, but it's up to them. So just hope for the best and have a good explanation. How do you prepare for citizenship? Okay, let's take that question in more detail. First of all, you have to know all your biographic information well. Most of the stuff that's just in the forms. And so when they ask you, you could verify it and know it. It'll be weird if you can't answer that. It includes your address history, work history, all that kind of stuff. And then you have to make sure all the other good moral character issues are fine, that you didn't not file taxes when you were supposed to, you didn't register to vote, or you have criminal history, or be prepared to explain that if it's appropriate, and that kind of stuff. And then, if you know English well, just be able to talk with them and practice the 100 U.S. citizenship questions that come up where they ask you who the president is, stuff like that. Typically, I have a lot of people who contact me who are really worried about the citizenship questions, 100 questions. But I found that almost none of them have a problem with that in reality. They just practice and they learn it. The question, just be prepared to just talk about yourself really basically and show that you have a basic knowledge of English, that's it. One thing with regard to your background, like if you have a consultation with me, I have to dig in deep into your green card history, your previous immigration history, and just life, because I need to see if there was any problems that may come up at citizenship. Because this is the last time that they're really going to pay attention to your background, your case, before letting you live freely in the United States. And so they're going to go back and check all your history. So it's my job as an immigration attorney to have a detailed review of your history, to catch something beforehand that maybe you made a mistake, they should have denied your green card in the past, but they didn't catch it, and they will catch it now. That's why it's important. And you ask how to prepare. Well, there's practicing English, practicing the questions, make sure you know the history, all that kind of stuff to answer, but there's not much you could do about your history. And so the main thing is for me to review and see if there's issues, if there is, how to answer that, or maybe just say, you know what, don't file. I can't recommend that you file, it'll hurt you by filing. And so that's the real reason you should hire an immigration attorney, to first review that kind of stuff and then take it from there and make a decision. Does bad credit and tax cause refusal for naturalization? Bad credit has not historically been an issue, but taxes, yes. So you could easily be denied if you have not filed your taxes and you do not have a tax plan with the IRS. So what you definitely need to do before even filing for U.S. citizenship is pay your back taxes, file everything you need to, and if you owe back taxes, set up a payment plan, have the documentation of that, maybe pay a couple of months worth of that payment plan, and then once you have a solid relationship, show that you're paying, because it's considered bad moral character for not paying taxes or not having a plan with the IRS. And so once you do that, file for them. They can still deny it because you have back taxes, but mostly if you have a good tax plan, it's not ridiculous what happens, the penalties aren't crazy, most officers will accept it. So I definitely would consult an immigration attorney and an accountant as well if you have back taxes and you're looking to file for U.S. citizenship. Being religious and belief, I don't support war and bearing arms. Can this affect citizenship? Yes, it can. You should hire a lawyer. Like for example, there's certain religious sects in America and groups that don't believe in bearing arms, so they have to handle these naturalization citizenship applications a certain way for the question that asks about bearing arms, going to war and stuff like that. They have to be able to explain it and show it's not like a joke, you really believe in it. So there's more work that needs to be done for it. So consult an immigration attorney in private if that's an issue that you don't want to answer yes to that question about supporting the U.S. militarily and that kind of stuff. Can my mom apply for U.S. citizenship? She is 70 years old but can't speak English. Thanks. Okay, so there is an exception for the language requirement for citizenship. One is if you have some sort of mental infirmity, for example, some issue that causes you to not be able to learn the English language. A doctor has to fill out a certain form and describe it, and then it's up to the officer whether to accept that or not. You should consult an attorney in private to review the medical history. But there's another exception where if a person has had a green card for a set amount of time, and it varies between 10, 15, 20 years, and they're above a certain age, they may either do the test, the English language test, or I guess it'll be just a language test, in their home language or not require it. But it's case specific, so I need to know a lot more information about your grandmother who's 70 years old who wants to apply for citizenship to see if any of these would apply to her or not. and as well as other factors. You know, immigration, the citizenship test has a lot of stuff. So you need to consult an attorney to look at your background, see if it fits within one of the categories of the exceptions, or whether the mental health infirmity or whatever the issue is that prevents the person from learning English is acceptable, or you think it may be acceptable to a USCIS officer to get that approved. So that's something you should definitely consult the lawyer, talk about, but these exceptions do exist for the language requirement. I hope you enjoyed this educational video. We have a second channel with much more information as well at JQK Immigration Clips. Please check that out. Also, you'll find our social media site has a lot more videos, images, and information about the US immigration process. Please check those out on the various social media websites.